Our wedding day was kind of a conclusion of a rocky dating period, just for me, trying to rope in this great gal who I was crazy about, and at the same time trying to probably put on a little bit of a facade of pretending to be a better guy than I really was. And so a little bit of a sense of relief of thinking to myself that this period of facade was over and now I could kind of let my guard down a little bit. The first night of our honeymoon, you know, my sweet wife, who's so gracious and says that she had a great time, went to bed alone, you know, while I was up and drinking and gambling with strangers because, you know, I felt like that was an okay thing to do on the first night of your honeymoon. And really the remainder of the honeymoon kind of started to put into place some of what it was going to be like for us for the first 2.5 years. As you know, I would say it wasn't intentional, but as I systematically started kind of taking our marriage apart with my behavior and with just selfishness and my addiction and all of the things that just continued down this road of destruction that would end up kind of melting us down in the end.
I spent a good chunk of that time, I would say probably the first 10 months to a year, just very, very unhappy, feeling like I kind of got tricked by him a little bit, that he wasn't really who he said he was. Yeah. And also, I spent a long time trying to change him myself.
As we trace, like where I went from becoming a problem drinker to becoming a complete full-blown alcoholic, was around the time where I feel like Jamie turned me completely over to God and God turned me completely over to myself.
And from that point on, I really did my best all the time to just turn Rustin over to God every single day, and I just started praying fervently every day for a change in our marriage, for something big to happen that would just rock Rustin's world, that would finally wake him up and get me either a way out of this marriage or a way for this marriage to be what I knew God wanted it to be.
Everything really took on a warp speed. I mean, it got bad fast, and not knowing, but Jamie's prayers were being answered in the fact that, you know, she'd really prayed for whatever it took. And so as it got worse and worse and worse, you know, I got to the point where towards the end of my drinking, the very last night I drank, had just been a big night, and Jamie was out of town.
When I got home from being out of town that weekend, I could tell that something was different, but I didn't really know what was going on. And on Monday afternoon, Rustin and I sat down together, and he told me everything that had happened that weekend.
I ended up, you know, cheating on Jamie and destroying our marriage and destroying really my life.
And when he told me about his alcoholism, and he told me about the infidelity that had happened that weekend, it was kind of this overwhelming peace that kind of filled through me, because it felt like I really did feel like the Holy Spirit was saying, okay, here's everything you've asked me for. Do you trust me?
And we knew we were in trouble. We knew we were in over our heads. And so we sat down with a really sweet couple, and we just sat there and we poured out our hearts, very much like what we're doing right now. And the husband looked across at us and he said, well, there's some really good news. Your marriage is over. And it was like, well, how is that good news? And he said, well, the good news is you didn't have a very good marriage to start with. But what the Lord's going to do is restore and rebuild. And so, you know, the thought for us was really like God cleared us down to the foundation, just leveled it all and just went, okay, let's do this my way now.
The restoration and rebuilding process for us over the last 20 months has been wonderful, but also a ton of work and a lot of just pain, and kind of watching the Lord rebuild our marriage for us little piece by little piece by little piece as we continue to pursue Him and pursue our marriage. It gets a little bit better and a little bit better all the time.
When people say, well, you know, what did it? And it's like, well, of the thousands of things that we've seen God do over the last 20 months, you know, the biggest thing was we just came to a point of complete brokenness and willingness, and just letting the Lord in to do what He does best, and letting Him have complete reign to restore our marriage.
One of the most important pieces of what made this happen for us in our marriage with what the Lord did is really that he did it. He had to do it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't change him. I couldn't change our marriage. I couldn't fix anything. And the harder I tried, the worse it got and the more miserable I became, until I figured out that I had to get out of the way and really let the Lord do what he does. Nothing happened for us.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a really important piece to understand, because I think we just try so hard to fix it all ourselves.